Good evening, everyone. It's Mike again, and I recently uploaded a short horror film that I made while I was on holiday, exploring a haunted gorge in Scotland, and I got a lot of really good feedback from that. And I wanted to make a little short video about how that came about and some of the spooky things that actually happened while I was making the video. So I was on holiday in a place called Weems Bay with my watch it first before you listen to this video, obviously, so I'll leave a link down below to the film. I was on holiday in a place called Weems Bay. Things have started to open up a little bit in Scotland, enough for me and my family and some of my wife's family to all go to a cabin in this holiday park. And there was a day where everyone was supposed to be going on a day trip away to a place called Largs, which is nearby on the coast. My daughter wasn't really that keen, let's put it that way. Her name's Eva, she's 3 years old. And so I decided, look, I'll stay at the cabin with Eva. We'll have lots of fun exploring the surroundings, and you guys all go off for your day trip. So that's what we did. I packed a rucksack with. I always do that with Eva. We always like go on adventures, and so I packed my rucksack with a picnic, and off we went. I knew there was a woodland walk at the bottom of the hill. The holiday park goes up into the hills, and so I knew there was this woodland walk. So I thought, we'll go down there and we'll check it out. I love the outdoors. My daughter's the same. She loves trees and animals and running through the grass and watching the flowers, and she loves all of that. So we went down to this woodland walk, and I was really amazed to find that it was marked as a walk to a quarry, but I was amazed to find that it was like this kind of ravine or gorge that ran for quite some distance up and up and up and up into the hills just off of the coast, and there was a river running through the centre of it, and it was quite, in some places it was wider, but in other places it was quite narrow, and there was sort of cliffs up above you. And it felt quite unique. It felt like quite a unique environment compared to some of the other places that I've been in Scotland. And as my daughter and I were, walking along the path that runs along the riverside, I started seeing all sorts of forgotten pieces of buildings and walls that had been left in this ravine, and it had all been reclaimed by nature, and I found this really spooky set of stairs that were in the middle of these woods in this ravine leading up, and there's a lot of like internet folklore about stairs found in the woods. I think that it mostly comes from No Sleep Stories, but there's a lot of that, and I knew those stories, so I saw that and I thought, well, that's interesting. Anyway, we went on that picnic, we found a few other places, and then we came back down. I think we were up and down in about an hour and a half. And I was like, well, I'd really like to get a few hours to just go there by myself and film some things, because I had brought recently I did a video about that. I got the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II, which has got a really good camera on it. It's kind of for video creation in a lot of ways. And I got a gimbal for it, which is a little bit like a Steadicam rig. So I'd got that stuff to do things for this channel. And I've started experimenting with really short form stories, 60-second stories, 2-minute stories. I've been putting them up on Instagram and on TikTok. And I've started doing some of them on YouTube here and there, just to give people a taste of those sorts of stories. I don't want people to think that that's primarily what the channel's going to be. It's not. It's just going to be another thing that's on the channel, as well as the longer form videos. And so the initial idea was, I'll take some footage of the different creepy things that I'd found in this ravine, and later on I'll build a ghost story over each. I'll get several videos out of it. Walked it. So I got one afternoon My wife was kind enough to say she would look after the wee one and I could go for a few hours. So I went down to the beginning of the Woodland Walk. I started filming, and initially, like, the first clip you see in that film is literally me saying, I'm going to be filming some things for Instagram. I just thought, well, maybe I'll document it in a little vlog as well. That's initially what it was. That's all it was going to be. It was going to be a little vlog. And very quickly, very quickly, after I'd filmed some things and started, just the idea, that's kind of what happens with me. You start off with something and my subconscious, whatever it is, the story just sort of comes. And all of a sudden I was like, well, I could actually make a little 5-minute found footage film here. You know, I love the found footage genre, like the Blair Witch Project, and one of my favourites is a little known one called Leaving DC, and I think you can see the influence of that film especially on it. And I decided, right, I'll put this little fun found footage film together. I'll film stuff, and if I can't really think up what's going to happen in it as I'm going along, then I'll just abandon it, and at least I'll have footage for doing these shorter videos. And so I thought, well, I'll tell a ghost story at the start of it. And I started telling this ghost story about a man who went missing in the quarry in this area that this ravine supposedly leads to. That story, for those of you who have listened to Talking Till Dawn, which is the sort of true crime and true horror podcast I do with Martin, I think I've told that story on that podcast, because it's actually something that happened, but it didn't happen there, unfortunately. All the folkloric stuff I was making up or drawing from other influences as I was just going. I was just sort of making it up as I was going along. I know that might be a bit disappointing for some people, but that story about the man who fell out with his wife and ended up disappearing, and they found his shoe at the edge of the quarry, that's a story that happened where my mum grew up in Bishopbriggs. And there's a whole thing about that. Like, I'm actually trying to research what actually happened, because it was a bit of a scandal, I think, at the time. But there were these quarries out the back where my mum grew up, and they actually took boats into the ground and through tunnels where there were, you know, sort of large lakes or pools of water in this quarry to see if they could find anything of the man, but they never found him. So I just told that story, but said it was in this haunted gorge, and then I thought, okay, well, I've got that story, and then maybe I can do something. And I always had in the back of my head, well, those stairs were really interesting. I wonder if there's something that I could do about those stairs. But I hadn't, as I was making it, I didn't really have an idea immediately about that. So then I went, so what was really interesting is I went off the path, I went down to this lovely little pool area, and I was like, oh, I'll tell a ghost story here. And that's where I told the story about the girl who drowned in the pool, who used to visit the pool, and the stones that she used to leave piled up. And then the camera turns around and there's one of these collections of stones. Now here's the thing. I only made that story up about the stones being placed that way because the stones were already there. And if you look at it, they're if you watch that video, they look precariously balanced in the middle of this river in a really strange way. And I just thought it was really quite spooky. So someone had been there and they'd done that. And so I decided to just make that part of the ghost story, and that part of it. And yes, there is fault. You didn't realise it was fiction, which, to be fair, it was made in a way that when I put it up, I initially had a part, like, text at the start of it, like a found footage film, so you would have known that it was fiction. But Martin and Callum suggested I take that away and just let it run as a vlog, and then let people sort of get the surprise at the end that something really spooky was happening. So Fault, our good friend on the channel, he didn't realise that halfway through, and he said he could hear a woman laughing at one point in that video. Yeah, there is a woman laughing, and I put that in after the fact when I was editing it. I put that in. In fact, if you listen to it, there's a number of times where I put little things in. Some of them are subtle, some of them aren't. The other thing is, there are other noises that actually appear on the video that I didn't put there. There's a sort of higher pitched kind of shh noise like that, and I'm not saying these things are paranormal, but when I was editing the video together, that was quite kind of spooky to me. That was there as well, and yeah, and so eventually I walked a good way into the gorge, and I'd come up with the different stories. The one about Agnes in the hills, and the cottage and all that, I just made that up, and then I realised, oh, I can tell this story about the two men who went up into the hill, who lived there and built a staircase that vanished, essentially. And then I don't know if people got that, but that's one of the ghost stories. I actually filmed that bit right at the end. Once I came up with that, and then I did the whole section with me walking up and something happening to me and being dragged off into the woods. But I don't know if people realise that that's what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the staircase that these two men built, and that there's something in the gorge kind of protecting the area. Whether it's people who have already died there or something much more ancient. I threw in things about the Picts, which another viewer mentioned that had a tinge of like Off the Beaten Path and On a Hill, which are two short stories. Well, one's a short story, one's a novella that I wrote. And yeah, it's totally connected. That the tent that I found that someone obviously had pitched their tent there and then just left it. So I used that, and I think that's what you do really. You sort of use things in your environment that are going to work for you, and I think people call that production value. But if you find something interesting, and that really spooky tree that looked to me like a big hand sitting out like that reminded me of Poltergeist a little bit. I sort of filmed that, and then sort of edited it. There's a longer version of it, but that's the only thing I was conflicted about, is do I keep this like a half an hour, 40 minutes, or do I go down just really 10 minutes, the stories, no atmosphere really, and then just boom, the ending. But I decided to keep it longer. I mean, this is just all experimental stuff that I'm doing at the moment, and with the shorter videos I'm experimenting with audio stories, my Night Terrors series, which is late, sort of stripped back storytelling, and yeah, I'm really excited. I'm more excited about horror creation than I've been in many years, and it's a total buzz. And the fact that you are all watching, it's not the biggest channel in the world, but I value each and every one of you, because it's been a rough time for everyone, but the fact that people watch and comment, and it really gets me through difficult times sometimes. Knowing that you're all there, and yeah, it's lovely, really lovely. So just thank you for all the comments that you left on that video. If you have any questions about that film, please put them down below, or any other questions about anything, please do let me know, and I'll try and get to them. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else about that. Yeah, the ghosting that you see in my face, that's because something messed up with the app I was using to film it. Every time I went on the selfie camera, the shutter speed I think was wrong, and which caused a strange effect on my face. But then that just kind of played into the supernatural aspect of it, as if like the footage was corrupted by something, or had already been marked for death. Like, this is the thing. I love writing things out. I've written many scripts and screenplays and things like that, but it's lovely sometimes just to make it up as you go along. Yeah, you might end up with rubbish, but you might also hit something great. And I'm not saying it was great, but I've thoroughly enjoyed making it. And there's many more stuff to come. The only thing I would say, I'm going to be doing a lot more documentary stuff as well on the channel. And I don't want you to think that because I pulled a twist in the last one, you know, making it seem like it was real when it wasn't. I'm not going to be doing that in other videos, you know, so you can trust me. I won't be faking things or anything like that. But anyway, I've got to go and pick my daughter up from her nursery now. So I'll see you all soon, and thanks so much for watching and all your feedback. Much love to all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.